Uh, Thank you for coming today. This is the first workshop session that we're having entitled Ask an Editor, and we're going to be talking about the different kinds of editing and trying to help you figure out what kind of an editor you might need to start with for your project. Do you want to go to the next slide? Okay, so my name is Eva Barrows, and the name of my company is Eva Barrows Editing and Writing Services. And what I do is I offer developmental editing, and we're going to talk about that today, what that is. And that's for fiction and nonfiction books. And then I also manage publications like newsletters, and I've been the editor-in-chief of a magazine. And then I also do content writing and editing for blogs, articles, and websites. And that's over to Lila.
And my name is Lila LaBine, and my company is LaBine Editorial. I work with fiction writers and screenwriters. I offer a combined line editing and copy editing service for fiction, copy editing by itself, and beta reading for specific fiction genres. And then I do my screenplay editing and proofreading.
Okay, so we're going to talk a bit, just a little bit about what an editor is and what they do. So I had this idea when I was, coming up in publishing and starting my internship with a publisher, just that an editor is someone who fixes sentences and grammar. And I didn't realize there was other types of editing. And I'm so glad there's other types of editing because I'm really great at developmental editing. Um, and so just to let you know that there's many ways editors can help and support writers as they clarify their writing and their ideas. Editors are also great objective outsiders who can help the writers see what they're missing and really help them through the revision process. Next slide. So then also, did you want to do this one, Lila, or
I wasn't sure about this one.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so
can if you want. Okay.
so editing is done in phases. So there's different stages of editing. So hopefully today we'll figure out, where you're at in your project and what kind of editor you'll need. So authors have to go through their drafts, as you know, several times, and they'll receive feedback at, different times and update their manuscripts as they receive the feedback. Individual editors specialize in one or two different types of editing. So you might have to work with a couple different editors, one who would help you with your idea and another who's going to help you with your language later.
And when you're working with editors, you'll be moving from the big picture things to the more detailed, because you don't want to fix all your dialogue punctuation in a scene and then rewrite the scene, in your developmental edit, and then you have to do it all over again. So you're always going to move. You may not work with each one of these, but you will go in that order.
Mhm. So now I'm just talking about what a big picture editor can help you with. So they can help you with idea development, brainstorming, organization, outlining your story or your book content. And then also they can help you with revising a draft for clarity and effective development of story elements.
And editors like me who work more on the detailed level, we help make sure that your writing is clear and consistent and correct and concise. That's like the 4 C's of copy editing. So we want it to be easy to read, and we want it to be engaging, right, on the sentence level, and polished, so it reads professionally. Even if it's a casual fiction story, you still want it to look professional. And then we help make sure that your writing is geared toward your audience, toward your desired audience. So you're going to write differently, in a children's book than you would in something geared toward biologists, and then you'll write differently to a book that's geared for newer gardeners versus very experienced gardeners. So we do all that while retaining your authorial voice and writing style. A good editor does not make your writing sound like it's not even you anymore. We're just trying to help you polish it. And then self-publishing authors definitely should be working with editors, because when you are a self-published author, you're basically the production manager for your book, or the project manager for whatever writing piece you're working on. And so the ultimate responsibility is on you, right? This is you, your name is on it. Even if you hired a project manager or a virtual assistant to help you find editors or a cover designer, it's still you, your name's on the book. So you want feedback from an objective person to ensure that your book is easy to read, that it's clear, that it's interesting. And yeah, I mean, you just don't want your writing to be stilted or awkward or filled with typos, because then people aren't going to want to finish reading it, or they're not going to want to share it with others. They're not going to want to review it positively. So
And I'm going to talk about why you might want to hire your own editor, even if you're traditionally published. So a traditional publisher, someone that has accepted your work and they're going to publish it. But and so a traditional publisher will provide a certain level of editing for you. So your acquiring editor, the person who decided to go ahead and work with you on your book, they might give you feedback. And then after you revise it, your manuscript is going to go through a copy edit so that they clarify all the language. But in order to get to that place, in order to get there in the first place, you're going to have a really polished manuscript. And that's why you might want to hire someone to work with you before you even approach an agent or a publisher. So now we're going to talk about the different types of editors. So I'm going to talk a while and then Lila will pick up later. So go ahead. So the first level of editing would be a book or writing coach. And this is great for someone who did not study writing. And this is almost like hiring your own writing teacher. And they're going to find ways to, help you improve your writing skills and meet your goals. Um, an author and a coach will collaborate together. They'll figure out, the ideas, they'll outline a story or a book, and they'll concentrate on book sections or chapters. So you might, have one week you're going to work on first chapter and then you'll go to the next chapter. So it's a really great way to kind of get accountability, and you have those deadlines that you're going to meet your editor. So you better have something to show them. And you'll receive inspiration, encouragement, writing advice, and support. So really hold your hand and be with you through the whole process. So next slide. So the next slide is a ghostwriter. So maybe you have a great idea, but you don't want to write it. So you'll hire someone.
sorry.
Ah, are we okay? So if you don't want to write it, but you have a great idea that you want to turn into a book, you can hire the ghostwriter. Their name will not appear on the book. Your name will appear as the author, unless you have some other, arrangement with the person. You can do that. So in order for this ghostwriter to get the information they need to write, they're going to interview you. They'll look at pre-written text like blogs, articles, or journal entries that you've already written, or that you own, or whatever it is, just to get the information they need. And that's really a collaborative process. Next slide. So a manuscript evaluation is kind of, let's see, it's maybe the first time that an author would get feedback from a professional editor. And it's a kind of a lower cost project that editors do instead of a full developmental edit, which I'll talk, soon about. So what you would receive for your manuscript evaluation is a high-level review of what works and what does not work in your writing. You'll learn the editor's opinion and you'll get advice on how to revise. So instead of the editor doing a lot of work in your manuscript, they'll just point out where you can learn more, like what book has the information in it already, and they'll refer you to different resources so that you can go back and revise on your own. Um, and the editor will point out consistent problems and grammar issues, but they're not going to correct them all for you. So the next slide. But in a developmental edit, you're going to receive holistic feedback on your full book or manuscript, and you'll get a guide to how to revise. The editor will look at things like the genre, the structure, characters, themes, point of view, and how the reader is experiencing the book as they're reading it and what expectations they have. So if something was promised in the book and it never came to fruition, they'll let you know, and they'll let you know if there's any inconsistencies that need to be corrected. What you'll receive with a developmental edit, you'll get a long editorial letter, usually 5 to 10 pages. It'll have tons of recommendations. And then you'll also get a sample revision and comments within the manuscript itself. So, so your manuscript will have a lot of comments and kind of samples of, how the editor sees, that you could revise. And then some editors do a spreadsheet. So this is going to track every scene, and it's going to kind of give you the word count and kind of let you know if each scene has a point and if it's moving the story along. So basically, you're getting a full set of instructions that's going to walk you through your next revision. And you'll meet with your editor on the phone, over Zoom, or even in person if you live nearby. And they'll just kind of, really walk you through their comments and what you can do next. So developmental editor, there's different names for them. You might hear substantive editor, structural editor, content editor. These are all editors who focus on the large scale strategies for improving a manuscript at the overall big picture level. And the content editor could be, someone who's editing your website. Like, it doesn't have to be for a book, but they want to look, they're looking at the website and they want to make sure everything necessary is on the, online. So next. So I think this is my last slide, but it's book doctor. So basically, might want to work with a book doctor if you're a subject matter expert. Say you're the gardener, but you don't know how to write, or you kind of wrote a draft and you're not really interested in rewriting it, but it needs help. So you'll receive expert guidance in examining your existing manuscript. So this is different from a ghostwriter because there is a draft available. And they're going to help with the structural, organizational level, and chapter by chapter revisions. And the difference between the book doctor and the developmental editor is that this person is going to actually make those changes. They're going to see what's missing, and they're going to maybe if there's something missing, they'll interview the author and they'll put it in there. So the author doesn't have to worry about rewriting. This person is going to handle it all. And then there would be ongoing meetings, maybe weekly meetings to make sure the editor is getting all the information they need to finish the project, right?
We had one question. I don't know if we want to address it now or wait until the breakout rooms.
Maybe we can wait before we do breakout rooms and we
Okay.
can answer the question.
And have I let everyone in? I just want to make sure
I think it
before.
looks good.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about line editing, copy editing, and proofreading, and they all overlap a bit. And Eva had the great idea of like a Venn diagram, and I'm a visual learner, so I thought it might be helpful for you. First, we'll do line editing and copy editing. They overlap a lot, and a lot of editors will offer like myself will offer a line copy edit combo service. They can also be done separately, and that's fine. If you're only going to do one, though, I suggest the copy editing. So that's more important. They overlap in that they both take care of, they ensure clarity and concision of your writing. They take care of consistency, making sure things don't change. Repetition and redundancy, obviously, they check for that the verb tense is always the right one or correct. They do basic fact checking. So if your character's flying from San Francisco to New York City and the way it's written in your story, it's been like a 2-hour flight, I would point out like, it's probably a longer flight than that. You might want to double check, that it's a longer flight. But, and then checking for potentially harmful language. So obviously you want to be sensitive to different groups of your readers, especially if you are writing from, if you are writing about a group that you are not a part of, you want to be careful. And most line editors and copy editors have had at least a little bit of training in that. And if it's something that we know that's beyond our scope of knowledge, we'll suggest you work with an authenticity or reader or sensitivity reader. And those are just people who might be a part of that group that you're writing about or who have more extensive training, and you pay those people as well. So line editing focuses more on making the language sound beautiful, kind of. That's how I like to think of it. It helps with like the flow of your sentences. It helps cut unnecessary sentences or paragraphs, or maybe reorder sentences. I make suggestions like that all the time. And then copy editing, though, has a larger focus on the technicalities. So grammar, punctuation, spelling, consistency of proper noun spellings. Oh, and I forgot to talk about fiction. So line editors will help make sure that your dialogue sounds natural, or that you've done accents in the right way. They'll make sure your action beats are working for your scene and not against them. Sometimes they might help you with pacing. They'll definitely help point out issues with your point of view and give you suggestions for showing more than telling. And then copy editors for fiction would find timeline inconsistencies. If you have a pregnant character and they get pregnant in the story and then they're having their baby 6 months later and it's not early, then that there's a little issue there that you got to fix. And then dialogue punctuation is definitely something that I see a lot because it can get so complex. It's kind of technical. That's something I work on a lot with my clients. And then copy editing and proofreading also overlap a lot because they both deal with grammar, punctuation, spelling, redundancy, and that making sure characters' names are spelled the same way throughout your book. Sorry, I talk a lot about fiction because that's what I work with, but this applies to nonfiction as well. And the thing is, with copy editing and proofreading, you want them done separately. I always advise copy editing, then formatting. So you want whatever you're working on, your website, your book, it just needs to be formatted and look the way it's going to look, then have a proofreader look at it. Some people don't do the formatting first, but I just suggest that because when things are formatted, sometimes little errors or typos or inconsistencies can be introduced. So it's best to have it formatted first and then have a proofreader go through it. Proofreaders are only going to be finding the absolute necessary changes. So the word was with 2 A's, or things that have to be changed. Because once things are formatted, it's going to be one little change can then change the next page and then the next page. So yeah, proofreaders will be finding the have to change things. They won't be rewording a sentence just because it sounds a little awkward. If it's completely incorrect, of course, they're going to point that out. But a copy editor might see a sentence that might confuse readers and give you a suggestion for a change, or make that change for you and then point it out to you. Proofreading will often include a check of your front and your back matter, so table of contents, acknowledgments, sometimes even the blurb on the back, or your author bio, anything like that. I think that's it. So line editing, copy editing can be done at the same time. If you're only going to do one, make sure it's copy editing. Copy editing, proofreading should be done separately. That, hope I covered it. I have 2 little mini courses on two aspects of fiction writing that I feel like I know really well. And one is to help you improve the dialogue and action beats in your story. And the other is to help you tighten your writing. So reducing things that are unnecessary, overwriting, and then refreshing what is left, the essential. Both of those are each have about an hour's worth of video lessons. And you just you get a link to a private YouTube video playlist. And those can be found on my website. And that's it for me. We do have another workshop, hopefully we have it planned, hopefully, on the 14th. And it will be, how can I find the right editor for me and my project? So now you know about the different levels of editing. And then next time we want to talk about how to find that editor, because sometimes it is a little bit of a process.
Mm-hmm. And we've got, you can sign up at evabarrows.com/workshops or LilaLaBine.com /ask editor.